Okay, welcome to the Sasuga podcast, and today I am delighted to be talking with our very special guest, Aya Yamanouchi. So, Aya, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Helen. Nice to meet you. My name is Aya Yamanouchi. I'm working as a learning and development manager in the luxury sector for more than 10 years. And my passion is really to contributing to the growth of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I can talk about how I became as I am now. Yes?
Please do, because we definitely want to know the backstory, how you got to the wonderful place you are in now.
It's a long story, but and I still cannot believe how I get here. And sometimes my friends tell me, like, you have such a dream job, you did fantastic path. But actually, I started my career in my father's company. My father was running his own business. He was creating ready-to-wear for women. And so when I was small, I learned from him, I worked for him, and I stayed for like more than 8 years, I can remember, yeah. And then it was very challenging, his company has a long history, and they're very difficult people as well, who's been working for a long time. And I was young, so I learned a lot, how to communicate with them. And at the end, I really learned not only about fashion business, but mostly, I was very much surprised how people are important for business. People's mind, motivation and communication. Without people, nothing can happen. Even though we create the beautiful products, people matters. So that's how I started to interested in people development, and coaching and etc. etc. And but after 8 years, my dream was really, going to France. I was always fascinated by French culture, especially, I'm sure you know a little bit about the image of France, but I was attracted to French female culture. French women are very not everyone, but very, how can I say, has a stronger identity, and they insist saying their opinions. And also in France, I really found that the more you mature, the more you are appreciated. But in Japan, it's opposite. If you are young, you are very much appreciated. But I found French culture very matured. So I decided to go to France and study French literature at Sorbonne. And then I came back to Japan, and I started again, finding job. And then I actually happened to become a trainer because one of my friends was working at a French embassy, and he just introduced me. There is a job, which suits you very well. You know about fashion, you speak French in English, or you can become a trainer. So what is trainer? I don't know what it is, but if there is any opportunity, let me do. And then I take this opportunity, and I became a trainer. And then I met many people, coaches, inspiring people. And then I I also was interested in psychology. So I studied psychology in the United States. And then I came back to Japan, and I found another job in training field. And then I happened to find a job in luxury sector. And I was a retail training manager for a long time. And now I became a learning and development specialist, not only retail, but also in charge of all the talents working in the company. It's a long story.
It's a great story. I'd love to, there are so many things I want to ask you about. I'd love to first go back to what you just said about the French women. That really, that came out, jumped out at me. When you talk about French women, what is it that you see? Because I know as well, a lot of our listeners, we have a lot of Japanese women who are listeners, and also people watching the video. And they're often very curious to know about differences between Japanese and other cultures. So what are your observations around the differences between Japanese women and French women, apart from the maturity part that you just mentioned?
Right. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's really about the culture. The French woman does not afraid to how can I say, I don't see so much difference in gender. Like, of course, they wear beautiful dresses and they care about beauty, but in terms of behavior, it's very neutral. Like whether you're man or woman, you behave in the same way. But in Japan, even the behavior is different, and also the language wise, of course, Japanese language has two types, so you need to be feminine in Japan by talking and behaving not like this maybe, but more like this. But in France it's totally same. And but I know, of course, in France, even in France, they are always trying to have equality in work and workplace, but Japan women mentality is different. I think women, how can I say, they try to not to be too insisting, and they think that they shouldn't do that, and if they do so, men won't appreciate it, But in France, if you don't insist or if you don't have any opinion, you are not appreciated, and you cannot have a good partnership. And I actually get married with a French man, and he speaks Japanese, and he knows Japan very well, but he likes a woman very active and speak up and give opinion. So I feel comfortable. Yes.
Right. And so what do you take from that in terms of business? Because business in for women who are working in a global business environment, but they are Japanese, and you've highlighted these differences of the Japanese culture for women is more reserved, and the French culture, for example, is more outspoken. Maybe is the right way to say it. What would you like to say to women who are working in a global business environment?
Well, I mean, if they are Japanese, they of course, have a pride of being Japanese, and we have a beautiful culture of, refrain from something, or I love Japanese culture, but if you really want to work in global context, and then you kind of adapt yourself and don't feel in the same way, as you are in the Japanese society, and you can be more open-minded, and you should actually have your opinion. You should speak up, otherwise people won't understand you and people won't appreciate your quality. And but I think, in my company, for instance, most of the, my colleagues in France are French, and they really appreciate Japanese culture. They like like a majime, serious, reserved. That's a good thing. But we can also speak up and reserved, and choosing the moment.
Yeah. I had a conversation with one of my clients about she was thinking that because she values being humble, like humility is very important to her, and she was thinking that she couldn't act in a confident way and be humble at the same time. And then she learned that actually it is possible to do both. So as you say, you can be reserved at the same time and still speak up.
Well, I used to, I born in Japan. I spent most of my time in Japan, and very, very Japanese. So my boss is French, and sometimes he he tells me, you are too humble, so you have to speak up. So I'm learning still. I some tends to get too humble, and very difficult to change. But as you said, being humble but having an opinion, speak up calmly, it's totally possible, and that gives more impact. You don't need you don't need to speak. You choose a moment, you say things, and then
yeah.
if you have a
That's
good
great.
content and then people listen to
Yes.
you, that's the most important.
Right. So we've gone straight into a lot of kind of deep conversation here, and I want to go back as well to the question that I usually ask our Sasuga podcast guests at the very beginning, which is about the word of the year, because word of the year for you, because I know that you have a very important word of the year, and please tell us what that is and a little bit more about the background.
Okay. Well, we this year is very weird year, and we are living in a COVID with the COVID, and I think for me the word of the year is resilience. I can say resilience is more than ever required, and we are all stressed, and we don't know. We are actually living in a VUCA. Finally, we have VUCA now. So to deal with the changes and unpredictable world, we need the resilience. And I think when I say resilience, we in our company we will be working on developing resilience of the talents, so that we can be more, confident in performance, and they have well-being as well, and we believe that resilience is the foundation of being innovative and creative, to create a futures. So we are creating developing program for now, and there are like 5 elements I can say. The first one is self-awareness, like you need to know who you are, where you are, how do you feel. Sometimes in the VUCA world, you kind of forget about yourself, and you are just influenced by external events. So be aware. And then the second thing is finding purpose. More than ever, we need to have purpose, to be centered and grounded. And then emotional state control. We have lots of emotions, so let's be aware of our emotion. And self-compassion and empathy. Be kind to yourself and kind to others as well. And lastly, physical, energy balance. I think that's really important. And many people do meditation and yoga, but more than ever, it's important. So that's the word of the year, and that's what we are working on.
I love it. Because I was going to ask you as well, specifically what resilience is to you, and you've beautifully gone through it with those 5 elements there. So especially what you say about, being kind to yourself and the well-being side. So this is something that's really coming up a lot in the Sasuga VIP Women's Coaching Program. And I've actually included more elements around there recently, because the need is so deep. How do you find that women respond to that when you're encouraging them to be kind to themselves and take more time for themselves, when they're also feeling the pressures of, I have to do this, there's so much change, I've got to keep up with it? How do you respond to that?
How do I respond to the person who is struggling of
if they're struggling to, well, I'm guessing that you have some women who you're talking about, be kind to yourself,
right.
Self-care, and maybe they find that difficult. First of all, is that the case?
Even to me it's difficult, so you always have to remind yourself that even I don't know, like at the end of the day, you just need to take a hot bath and take care of your body, or a very small thing, but you just talk to yourself, and so yeah, you did this today, you did that today, or you didn't do this today, but that's okay, you and we don't realize how miraculous about our life. Like to live is very, very miraculous, and we are running life, and we are working, we are talking. So I just try to remind myself that my body and my energy is contributing to something, even though you don't feel so much. But so I want them to remind them, just talk to them, self-talk, and put their hands on the heart and talk to you.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah,
just just do it, just that action. So for those of you who are watching, just take a moment, put your hands on your heart, and for those listening who can't see what we're doing right now, we're both
hug yourself.
So put your hands on your heart, give yourself a hug, and appreciate yourself. It's so true.
That's really, you connect to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, that's so wonderful. So let's go into, I just want to go into that topic of around confidence as well. So we've talked a little bit about like the resilience and well-being and self-care, which is all very important. And then the confidence part of things. And you said that you became a trainer. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Because you didn't have the background at first, and then you went into being a trainer. So tell us a little bit more.
Right. When I became a trainer, as I said, I didn't know what is a trainer, and I actually had the opportunity to take a train the trainer course, in Germany, and then I said, okay, I need job. Sorry, okay, let's go. And then I went there, and that was amazing. I mean, people are super professional, and I was the only one who was a beginner, and I was the only Asian, whose language is not English native. And most of them are from Europe, Americas, so they speak fluently, and they have experience, and whenever we learn something, and they do delivery immediately. And I did some tests and I did my best, but I was so bad, and I was so shy and didn't know, speaking up in front of people. Even in Japanese, I get really nervous that time. So I was so nervous, and my voice was like, and whenever the trainer asked me something, I was like, I'm sorry, I couldn't focus on what he was saying. And he gave me very bad feedback, and so constructive feedback.
Yeah.
But I cried, like I stayed 1 week, and I cried for 3 days, and I called my mother. I can't become trainer. But at the end, this fantastic trainer, he gave me advice. He's like, Aya, you are focusing too much on yourself, and you are scared of making mistakes. Your English is okay, it's not perfect, but it's okay. And you are delivering in Japanese in Japan, so don't care about the language. Just speak to us and talk to. It's like talking to one person. And then I was like, it was revealing. He said, focus on others, not you, because you are working for others, not for you. Like, oh, and then I feel so much comfortable. And I don't know if it's called confidence, but I was confident, and I tried my best for others, and it went quite well. And then since then I know that every time I get nervous, I'm like, oh my God, I'm focusing too much to myself. Let's focus on others. I'm for what I'm doing, for who I'm doing. Then confidence came up.
I love that. Yeah, so wonderful. And this is, when I'm teaching presentation skills, for example, this is one thing I always say, the reason that as a human being we feel nervous is because we're focusing on ourselves and what will people think of us. And then as soon as you start to shift the focus to who is my audience, how can I help my audience, you know, what do they need, then it all changes. That is such a great story. Thank you, Aya, for sharing that. It's wonderful, very encouraging for our listeners and viewers. So what else would you like to share with the Sasaga podcast listeners and viewers today?
Sasaga podcast listeners, what else? I think we all have potential, and it depends on your decision and choice. And I think, and we are all imperfect, and let's enjoy, this perfect imperfection. So, and you don't need to be perfect. Just try and just to let your potential grow. And you can do anything. And I'm not perfect, and let's so enjoy imperfection.
That's so wonderful. And that word choice that you brought up is so important as well. My guess is that in difficult times, people forget that they have a choice, right? And as you said, we do. We always have a choice.
Yes. So grab your choice.
Yeah.
But don't too much. Don't without pressure. Imperfect. Imperfect, but choose what you want.
Wonderful. I love it. Thank you. Anything else before we close today?
Anything else? No, I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to talk about myself, and also be connected with the people who is listening to the podcast. And I know COVID won't end very soon, but let's be not positive, but how can I say? Let's deal with it. Let's like surfing. It's a wave, so let's just
ride the waves.
Ride the waves. Ride the waves. You have another muscle coming up.
Yeah. That's so great. Well, thank you so much, Aya. Really appreciate that you've taken the time to join us today on the Sasaga podcast. This has definitely been an inspiring episode, and I look forward to more resilience around the world and more great things for everybody. And hands on hearts, hugging self. Love it. Thank you so much. Okay, and stop the recording. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.